Did God really command genocide? It's one of the most unsettling questions you'll ever face when reading the Bible, one that creeps in quietly and refuses to leave. It doesn't appear in Sunday sermons. You won't find it on coffee mugs or devotionals. But it echoes through history and through the human heart. How can the God of love command the total annihilation of nations? Men, women, children, even livestock. It feels barbaric, unthinkable, unforgivable. And yet, it's there, written in black ink, on sacred scrolls. In the book of Deuteronomy, God instructs the Israelites, completely destroy them, the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded you. In 1 Samuel, the words are even harsher. Now go, attack the Amalekites, and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. It's all there, spelled out, uncomfortable, disturbing, real, and if we're being honest, most people don't know what to do with it. They skip the passages, they rationalize them, or worse, they walk away from God altogether. But what if there's more? What if these commands, however brutal, were not genocide, but justice? The Canaanites were not innocent tribes living in peace. They were a civilization soaked in evil, practicing child sacrifice, burning infants alive to appease gods like Molech. Archaeologists have uncovered altars, tiny bones charred in layers, entire systems of prostitution wrapped in religion. Slavery, murder, darkness embedded into their way of life, and God. He waited, not years, not decades, but 4 centuries. In Genesis 15:16, God tells Abraham, the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. He was patient, watching, grieving until it was no longer delay, but decay. Still, we ask, why everyone? Why the women, the infants? Couldn't God have spared the innocent? But this question assumes something modern, that evil is clean, isolated, that it can be surgically removed. But in ancient cultures, evil was systemic. It passed through generations, not just in blood, but in belief, in ritual, in law. Leaving a child to grow in that world was to ensure the cycle continued. It wasn't about hate, it wasn't about race. It was about stopping something before it consumed everything. Still brutal? Yes, but maybe necessary. Ironically, Israel didn't always obey these commands. They left survivors. They signed treaties. They intermarried. And the result? Corruption, idolatry. The very sins of Canaan became the sins of Israel. Even the temple of God was defiled. Children sacrificed. Altars rebuilt. Judgment came again. But this time, it fell on Israel. Jerusalem was besieged. The temple destroyed. The people exiled. God is not a nationalist. He doesn't play favorites. He is holy. Centuries later, a different kind of command would come. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you, from the mouth of the same God, incarnated in flesh. Jesus didn't erase the Old Testament. He fulfilled it. The justice of God didn't disappear. It was absorbed on a cross. One man bore the weight of every sin, took on the wrath once unleashed on nations, and redirected. Mercy didn't negate justice, it satisfied it. So, did God command genocide? No, he commanded judgment, real, righteous, terrifying, because holiness is terrifying. But today, that same God offers peace, not through war, but through grace. The question isn't, why did God judge? The real question is, why does he still offer forgiveness to you, to me, to all of us? Maybe we've misunderstood the story. It was never about mass murder. It was about purging evil, preserving holiness, preparing the world for a Savior